Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Richard Sax, Provost and Vice President for Academic Affairs here at University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College. I am pleased to be joined this afternoon with the Chair of the Emerson Evans School of Business, Jason Winters. And Chair Winters is here to talk about some of the new programs in business. I know that many people are very excited about the turnaround in the American economy, and due in no small part to many members of the American business community. Jason, can you tell us a little bit about the business program, especially the changes that have occurred? There is a nationwide movement, just so our studio audience knows this, to create the context for this discussion. When I was in college back in the 1970s, we always had lots of choices, and that is still the case at many institutions. What is often called a cafeteria model or a shopping mall model, where to fulfill any particular requirement you may have any number of courses and allowing for as many electives as possible so that students can select. What we found out through decades of longitudinal data is that that does not always work well for most of our students. And the movement now is more toward guided pathways, where there's more of a set curriculum that students go through with possible options down the line, or what we would call stackable programs. Here at Rio Grande, it's our School of Business that has adopted this new methodology or this new mentality for academics. So can you talk a little bit, Jason, about what your programs have done and the kinds of majors that you now offer?
Sure, be happy to. First of all, thank you for having me on your show.
Okay.
This is kind of a different position for me. You know, usually with business talk, I'm on the other end of the table for one thing, and I'm at the 1 o'clock hour, not the 3. So it's very nice to be on your show today.
It's great to have you.
Love to talk about business. You know, we have done a lot of different things in the School of Business. To me, you know, it's not so much of changing from what the academics call the cafeteria style to the pathways, but for me it's just a more efficient model that helps students when they first come in to understand what's expected of them to complete their degree in a very timely fashion. You know, I have kind of gone through the cafeteria style myself, like you, with the many options, and my son actually went through another institution and he was given all of the cafeteria style and he was overwhelmed. He went to a very large institution, one of them up north, and we won't promote other institutions to this point. But when it came to the general education requirements, you know, he was handed a paper that had about 300 different courses on it. And for him, it was overwhelming, and he was looking at me, you know, what do I do from here? So I took that back to the university, and we started talking about how can we make our students' experience here, one, easier for them to comprehend, to create their own pathway for success, and to have a model that they can continue on, that they can be successful with. And that efficiency model is what happened. What we did is we really looked at all of our programs that we were offering the School of Business. And at the time we were offering a degree in business management, we were offering a degree in accounting, a degree in marketing, a degree in information technology, and a degree in healthcare administration. And what we were finding out was we were spreading our population very thin. We had all of these programs, and we didn't have a lot graduating in any one program other than business management. And logically, we looked and said, how can we offer what the students need to be successful in life? How can we put together a plan to where they have the basics of business management, but they have the option to do something in a related field, like accounting or like marketing or like information technology? And so what we did is we pared down our program to where we have an associate degree in business management and we have a bachelor's degree in business management. With the associate degree, what we did is we said we are going to take the electives that we have always allowed our students to have, those choices in that cafeteria style, and we're going to create a pathway so that they can have an associate in business management, and the 3 electives that they need or that they have to get their associate degree, they can select one of those pathways. So we created a certificate in information technology, accounting, marketing, healthcare administration, as well as banking, which has been a very interesting program. And then we did the same thing at our bachelor's. We said, okay, we allow our students to select minor electives at the bachelor's degree level. Let's let them do the same thing with a minor. So we continued those certificate programs. We made them stackable so that with 3 more courses, they could complete their bachelor's degree with a minor in that specific area. And what that has allowed us to do is it allowed us to bring new students in their very freshman year and say, look, here is the pathway. You're going to take these courses fall, these courses spring, and they have 8 semesters and they have everything completed. And the only option they have is after the end of the first semester is to decide which pathway do you want to take as far as marketing, accounting, information technology, healthcare administration, or banking. And they're introduced to all 5 of those pathways during that first semester in freshman success class.
That sounds great. Clearly, this is a more efficient model, and as the provost, I'm always tracking enrollments, and the enrollments look really strong. We're effectively delivering the curriculum. It's an interesting point. I think most citizens in Ohio don't realize that part of the last funding bill in the state of Ohio required all public institutions to create reports this year, which I already did by January 1st, and every 5 years for under-enrolled classes. And I know the other provosts and I, when we met in Columbus a few months ago and learned about this, we said, don't they think we're tracking the enrollments anyway? I mean, well, why is this necessary? But it's clear the legislators are concerned about that. They want to make certain we're offering our academic programs efficiently. By having this kind of guided pathways program, does that in essence then create a kind of cohort, because all the first term freshmen in business are taking many of their classes together? And does that then create, I know this program is relatively new, but does that seem to create some cohesiveness and maybe a sense of community among those business majors?
I think it does, and like you said, it's relatively new for us, but I am seeing our students they're coming in to me for their second set of advising, and they're saying, I've made all these connections. The majority of the students that are in my Principles of Management class was also in my Information Technology class, and they were in my English class, and they were forming study groups, and they were helping each other out. And I noticed that the students who were underperforming this semester were less than what had been in the past.
Great.
So what we're seeing is a learning community that's taking place in those business courses to where they're helping each other out. I'm hoping we'll see more results and something we can measure. We had approximately 100 students new come to the university in the fall. We probably had roughly 70 to 80 on campus, and the others were our off-campus site at the main
These are
location.
new business students.
New business
Right.
students.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to put together those numbers, and I want to compare them to what happens next year. But re-enrollment for spring has been good in the School of Business.
Right.
We're tracking them very well.
Now, at the other institutions I've been at, I'm just in my second year here. Marketing is almost always the most popular, and then that's followed by management, and then accounting is usually a distant third with finance or banking. Is that generally the case here as well? Or?
The top 2 are flipped here.
Okay.
Historical data shows that the most enrolled major here at the university has been management.
Okay.
Followed by marketing.
Okay.
Which was a very interesting twist, because the majority of our marketing majors were actually doing dual majors. They were receiving their management and marketing degrees at the same time.
Okay.
So we are finding that when they select the certificate, of the marketing, information technology, accounting, banking, and healthcare, marketing is the highest enrolled certificate and soon to be minor program.
And supposedly marketing is something that Americans do really well, or we do it for the rest of the world, from Super Bowl commercials to internet marketing. Right. Have you seen the field change in recent years? Because, I'm old enough to remember the time when we used to buy a lot more radio ads, or when we argued about things like should we put out the cost to put out something like a billboard by a freeway or something like that. And now almost all the time we see so much more internet marketing. I know I'm somebody who always drives old Volvos, and I rarely buy new clothes, but when I do, it's generally from territoryahead.com. And I'll go to Chicago or I'll go to Cincinnati for a conference, and as I'm checking things, checking my email online, suddenly I have these ads coming up about the local Volvo dealer, and this stuff's on sale at territoryahead.com, and I realize I didn't tell anybody I'm coming here, but they know and then I make the big mistake, I think, of clicking on, oh, let me see what kind of not that I'm in the market, but what kind of used Volvos does the Cincinnati Volvo dealer have? So I click on that, and then I guess I'm making it worse, right? That I'm essentially telling them, yes, you're marketing correctly for me.
Yeah. Management hasn't changed much over the years because we're managing people.
Right.
People haven't really changed that much.
Yeah.
Marketing has changed considerably.
Right.
Sometime you ought to have Wesley on the show. Wesley Taney is
yeah,
on business
good idea.
management. He can tell, or marketing guy, he can tell you all that's going on, and he is very proficient in it. But as a small businessman myself, I can tell you that the world of marketing has changed considerably. The technology that you're talking about of pulling into the Volvo dealer, we had a student come out of our MBA program a couple of years that worked for a local billboard company. And the local billboard company, they were experimenting with new technology. Do I have a good level? Okay. I dropped my mic, so I don't mind telling you I make a mistake every once in a while. But the new technology that they had on their billboards was actually utilizing Bluetooth technology that could actually communicate with your telephone as you drove by that billboard.
Wow.
And they were able to, I don't know, access the information that you had on your phone as far as what your likes, your cookies, and that kind of information. And they could shoot you advertising messages that was catered to your likes.
Wow. That's exciting, but it's also frightening a
It's
little
scary.
bit.
In my opinion,
Big
our
brother.
generation thinks that. You know, I
Yeah.
talked to one of my students last night in class, Intro to Business. We were discussing this very topic. And they said, so what? I get good deals.
Okay.
They have no concept. The new generation, the Gen Ys, they're all about technology, and they will give away their privacy to save $1. We're kind of the opposite.
Right. Yeah.
We'll save $1 to keep our privacy.
Yeah. Well, that's fascinating. One thing I heard almost as soon as I came here is that the finance program sometimes goes to Wall Street. Does that still happen? And they ring the bell, or?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Roger Watson tries to take a group to New York every year. Roger is he is one of our professors of all trades, I will say. He teaches management courses, he teaches finance courses. He is also in charge of our new banking courses. He put together the entire banking curriculum for us. His daughter actually works for Goldman Sachs in New York City and lives in New York City.
Wow.
And he has multiple contacts with individuals within New York, and he takes them to all the landmarks, but he goes inside Wall Street, he gets inside Goldman Sachs, and he gets to talk to some of the traders. They get to go in. Roger actually rang the bell once, but he has had his students there every time to watch the bell being as it was being rung and open. So yeah, they get a great experience. We are trying to schedule a trip for this spring.
Oh, great.
And I have to defer to Roger for what all the plans are, but it's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. We have many students that have graduated, they're in the workforce, and they'll call back and say, I remember when I took that trip, I love that trip. If I can ever pay it forward and anyone ever needs help, please let me know. So,
that's great.
Yeah, it's always been a very good experience.
Well, good. If a student comes to you and says, I'm interested in business, but I don't know what area, obviously this new curriculum gives them a smattering of everything and would put them in a position where they can make a more informed decision.
Sure. Yeah. One of the things I like about business, and some of my colleagues dislike the use of my term, but business is a very generic discipline. If you stop and think about it, it doesn't matter what you're interested in life, there's business involved. An artist, they got to sell their paintings.
Sure.
So it doesn't matter where you're at. Education, we've got to sell our product. We've got to fill our seats.
Right.
So, there's business involved in everything. There's management involved in every business operation. So business management is a perfect place to start if you like working with people. Now, I say that because honestly, if you really don't like working with people, business management is probably not where you need to be, because you've got to understand basic humans.
Right.
What makes people tick? Why do they act the way they do? How do they interact within the job? What is the behavior of an organization? How does the University of Rio Grande behave? What's the characteristic? Not everyone would want to come here. Not everyone wants to go someplace else. So you look for a culture that's involved, and you want to become a part of that culture. And that's part of the business, is to perpetuate that culture. I mean, I'm sure every one of our listeners can think of their favorite restaurant, and they know what it's going to be like before they ever walk in, because they know what the culture is of that business. And that's what managers are there for. They're to perpetuate the culture of the business and make sure that all the employees are following the culture and perpetuating that culture. I say students, get started. Take a class. Take an intro to business class and find out what business is all about. If you like it, you'll stick with it. If you don't, I'll help you find something that you enjoy.
Yeah. I'm going a little bit off task here now.
That's all right. I'm flexible.
But your discussion is fascinating me. Can you give a kind of snapshot of the business community along the Ohio River here on both sides, both the Ohio side and the Kentucky, West Virginia side? As you know, I live in downtown Gallipolis. I love my view of the park and my distant view of the river beyond. And at times I've been pleasantly surprised that even in an old Rust Belt downtown, we have things like Pippin Huds coming in. We have the new high-end apartments that have been built. Right underneath my apartment, the old Paul Davies Jewelers has now become the beauty bar, and they put a lot of money into that place, and it seems busy most of the time. But what is the more long-term business view? I mean, is it viable for businesses to continue to open and to maintain and to be healthy in small towns along the Ohio River? I mean, we're an hour from Huntington, we're 2 hours from Columbus, we're an hour and a little bit more from Charleston. There aren't any big cities in the area, but there's a fair number of people and a lot of drive-through traffic. I mean, I'm trying to be very, very positive about the future. Can you give us an honest reckoning, especially for all those students who say, I'm interested in this program, but I want to live here. I want to stay in Gallia County, or I want to stay in this area. And I've always had to say, you know, you may have to go to Columbus, you may have to go to Huntington for that first job, and then come back 3 or 5 or 10 years from now. But you know, what's your view, you know, from the hospitals and the power plants and the small businesses?
Sure. Like you know, I grew up in Wellston, which is only 20 minutes from Rio Grande. You know, my roots are in the community. I have a pretty good feel about what Southeastern is about. Southeastern has always been very bootstrapped. They've always been very entrepreneurial. They've all been small businesses. Now, we know that the small businesses struggle, but then again, the small business are the backbone of the American economy. Some of the small businesses start, they thrive, they grow, and they're very successful, and others wither on the vine. Here in Southeastern Ohio, we don't have a lot of big business. You know, we do have a couple medium-sized businesses. We have a couple hospitals that are very successful that have multiple locations, a few insurance companies, a few banks in the region that are growing. But you know, as far as large job producers, we don't have the big manufacturing plants. You know, we have a handful. So that makes it a little tough. You know, when the student comes in and says, "I want to be a CPA, but I don't want to leave the region." You know, a lot of people think that once the Sarbanes-Oxley Act was enacted, there would be a huge demand for CPAs, and there is. But that legislation only applies to publicly traded companies. And there's not a lot of publicly traded companies right here in Gallia County or Jackson County or Meigs County or Lawrence County. You know, or Vinton County. You know, so if someone is thinking that they're going to be a CPA here locally, they need to change their thought processes. I'm not going to work for one of the big five. You know, I'm going to work in private industry. You know, I'm going to start my own practice. I'm going to work with small businesses. I'm going to focus on helping that entrepreneur make his or her business better. Or I'm going to go into public accounting, and I'm going to work for one of the county offices. So, yeah, there's a different mindset in what you're thinking about, because a lot of people, when they do think of that field, you know, they think large business. And if they want to stay in Southeastern Ohio, and I can give you a whole lot of reasons to stay in Southeastern Ohio. You know, I went away. I enjoyed my time away, but I came back. My heart is tied to this southeastern region, and that Ohio River, can't get away from it. I don't know what it is. There's something
Most
that calls me
beautiful
back
part
to
of
it.
the state.
It is, and life is different here. It's not. I joke that I live and die by a schedule, and I'm constantly busy, but life is a little slower here. Yeah. I had a 20-minute drive, but it was a 20-minute drive. Right. I had no traffic.
Yeah.
I can imagine what that 20-minute drive would be like if it was setting in Columbus.
Right.
It would take me 2 hours to get to work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits to living in southeastern Ohio. It's still a friendly area. Yeah. They still care about their neighbors, and I think that adds a lot to their business.
Absolutely.
You walk into the stores, as you were talking about downtown,
yeah.
and they greet you.
Right.
And they talk to you. They want to know how
yeah.
you're doing.
Yeah.
Pip and Hudge, you were talking about that.
Yeah.
That's one of my former students.
Oh, Robbie.
Yeah. Robbie graduated from Rio.
Okay.
He actually began our MBA program, and I'd like to think that he took some of the knowledge that he received here on campus and applied it to his multiple successful businesses.
Right. From the theater to Pip and Hud's to other things. I mean, so many of the things that he does.
And marketing. He has Rocket, the billboard company.
Oh, that's
there.
right.
Yeah.
Well, and I wonder about the marketing, the business plan for that too. Last night I had a guest lecture at a book club down in the 100 block of First Avenue, and since it was so cold last night, I drove there and back. On a nice evening, it would have been nice to walk across the park, but I drove there and back. And as I drove there was nobody in Pip and Hud's except for the person, it's 8 degrees last night. Nobody's going to buy frozen yogurt, although I think the popcorn would have been fine. And then driving back, there was nobody there except for the workers. So I'm starting to worry about Robbie and thinking, oh my gosh, I got to go and buy frozen yogurt, even though it's freezing. And things like the new leather store, downtown, which is beautiful. And like I said, the beauty parlor, which moved downtown. I'm hoping, and even the Colony Club now, the second theater's been reopened. And I've wondered about that. They're open only Wednesday through Sunday. They're open only for lunch and dinner. They have a very limited menu. They show the movies for free. It's a fascinating experience, and I'm so proud that they're open. But first of all, they're not open every Monday, Tuesday. I think it was brilliant when they started showing Ohio State games there on Saturday. It didn't tempt me, but I would assume it would tempt 90% of the people. What a great idea!
Absolutely.
To grab some takeout food and sit there and see the game on a big screen. What a great idea! So it seems like a great idea, but are they open enough to make a profit?
Well, it gets back to advertising and promotion. You got to bring people in. You don't have the foot traffic in a small town.
Yeah.
You have the community. They make their pass once a week, twice a week.
Yeah.
But it's not like the larger city where thousands of people walk past your door and they just stop and pick something up.
Right.
So we absolutely have to do a better job promoting ourselves.
Yeah.
I know that Mike has actually been working on a Promote Gallia County video and tourism, and I did some voiceover for him earlier today, and we're really looking forward to that coming out. Because there was a lot of things that I was reading for voiceover, and I'm thinking, wow, I haven't been there in a long time. And why haven't I been there in a long time?
Yeah.
We have so much in our community that we should be proud of and we should be promoting, but we take a lot of benefits that we have locally for granted.
Yeah. Well, I know when I'm visited by family or friends from elsewhere, I always have to take them to courtside. There's a bunch of different things I want to take them to.
By the way, another graduate of ours from the MBA program.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's great. Well, my favorite sports bar in the country, I swear to God. And my second oldest son, who was a triathlete at an institution that will not be named, he loves Buffalo Wild Wings. He loves Buffalo Wild Wings. And the 2 times he's visited me in the year and a half I've been here, I go, we're not going to B3, even though there's one up Eastern Ave. We're going to courtside, and he loves courtside too. But that has always been a concern of mine, that when something like the Colony Club opens, I went there, I loved it. I went there once. It's been open, 3 months? And, when I go home tonight, I'll think, it's an indulgent for me to go out and eat alone. I'll just make some leftovers or something like that, and I keep doing that. Now I'm waiting for the next time I'm visited by family or friends so I can go back there or go to courtside. So do you see the point that I'm making, that everybody talked about Colony Club when it opened, and everybody I know went once, and I haven't talked to anybody who's been a second time. Not that it wasn't a good experience, and now I'm knocking myself on the head saying, I want it to stay open, I want the downtown to stay vibrant, I should get back there. But isn't there some of that too with a new business? You have to go there once and say, yeah, I went there, it's great.
Word of mouth is the best advertising, but the problem with word of mouth advertising is you can't start word of mouth advertising until you've done some basic advertising, so people know it's there and it gets started. And where do you advertise as a small business? Where do you put your money that's the most effective? And that's really, like you said, used to be newspaper. Who reads a newspaper?
Yeah.
Your generation might read a newspaper.
I've stopped
now,
and I never thought I would. I'd read the Cleveland Plain Dealer every day and the New York Times on Sunday, and I've slowly kind of weaned away from it because it's so much easier just to go online and get the information.
My father is a baby boomer,
yeah,
and he always read the paper,
yeah,
and I think he still picks up the paper every once in a while,
yeah,
but he's doing the exact same thing.
Right.
He's turning on his computer and he's looking at the local news.
Right.
And so it's changing.
Yeah.
So do you put your money in newspaper? What about radio? Used to, you had one radio station in your community. Now there's multiple radio stations, and a lot of people don't even listen to the radio station anymore because they have Sirius XM radio because they don't want the advertisement.
Right.
So, okay, you took away the newspaper, you took away the radio. How do I get to my community?
Yeah.
Well, there's social media. That helps.
Sure.
There's billboards, and that helps. But how do you spend your money wisely, because small businesses don't have big pots of money to advertise.
Sure.
And that's one of the big things with big or small businesses.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Jason, this has been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for being on. I am, I know I'm an English PhD, but I'm fascinated by business and marketing and management, how those things operate together. Okay, will you? Okay. All right. Okay, well, thanks very much. Again, University of Rio Grande and Rio Grande Community College, main campus in Rio Grande. We now have centers in MacArthur and Pomeroy. We've just opened up a center in Jackson to focus on medical coding. So we are in all 4 counties, all 4 of our down-home counties here in southeastern Ohio. Thanks very much for listening. Thanks again to Chair Jason Winters from the Emerson Evans School of Business, and so long from Rio Grande, Ohio.